You check your bank account. Again, the number hasn't moved. Not really. Not the way you need it to. You're working harder than you ever have, spending less than you ever thought possible, and somehow, the money just won't stack. It trickles in and disappears. You start to wonder if something is wrong with you, if you're missing something everyone else figured out. But here's what nobody told you. The first $10,000 isn't hard because you're bad at money. It's hard because your brain was never built to save it. This is the story of why that number, $10,000, sits at the edge of a psychological cliff. Below it, you fight gravity. Above it, something shifts. And the difference between those two worlds has nothing to do with your income, your willpower, or your spreadsheet. It has everything to do with the survival system your ancestors built 2 million years ago, still running silently in the back of your mind. Let's go back, far back. Your ancestors didn't have banks. They didn't have savings accounts or investment portfolios or emergency funds. What they had was immediate reality. A piece of food in your hand was real. A piece of food buried somewhere for later was a gamble. The animal that might eat you tonight was real. The cold coming in 3 months was a guess. The human brain evolved over millions of years to make one calculation above all others. What is certain now is worth more than what is uncertain later. Psychologists call this hyperbolic discounting. It means your brain doesn't evaluate the future and the present on the same scale. $1 you can spend today is psychologically heavier than $2 you can spend in a year. Not because you're irrational, because you were built by a world where the future was genuinely uncertain, where saving food could mean nothing if a predator found your cash, where delaying gratification could literally kill you. Dr. Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2017, spent decades mapping this exact phenomenon. His research showed that people routinely make financial decisions that appear irrational by traditional economic models, but make perfect sense when you understand the evolutionary pressures behind them. The brain isn't broken. It's running an old program in a new world. And this is where the first $10,000 becomes a trap. When your account balance is near zero, every dollar you earn triggers your threat system. Your brain scans for danger. It finds it everywhere. The rent is a threat. The car is a threat. The grocery bill, the phone bill, the unexpected expense that always shows up exactly when you can least handle it are all threats. And when the brain is in threat mode, it optimizes for now. It sacrifices the future to survive the present. You feel this as impulse spending, as the inexplicable urge to buy something small and satisfying when you know you shouldn't, as the relief that floods through you when you treat yourself after a hard week, even if treating yourself costs you 2 weeks of progress. That relief is real. It is not weakness. It is your ancient survival system telling you that you made it through another day and rewarding you accordingly. But here is the cruel irony. The less money you have, the more mental energy it consumes. Dr. Sendhil Mullainathan, a behavioral economist at Harvard, and Dr. Eldar Shafir, a psychologist at Princeton, proved this in a landmark 2013 study published in the journal Science. They measured the cognitive impact of financial stress and found that poverty, or even the feeling of scarcity, consumed the equivalent of 13 IQ points. Not metaphorically, measurably. A person thinking about money problems has less working memory, less ability to plan, less capacity to resist impulses. The very conditions that make saving hard also make your brain worse at saving. This is the scarcity trap. The less you have, the harder it is to think clearly about how to get more. Now consider what happens at $10,000. Something changes, not in the world, in you. For the first time, a threat appears and your brain doesn't scream. The car breaks down, the medical bill arrives, the month runs long, and instead of a full system alarm, there is something quieter. A calculation. You have buffer. You have time. The future isn't a cliff anymore. It's a road. Researchers call this the threshold of financial slack. Below it, every decision is a crisis. Above it, decisions become choices. The difference sounds subtle. It isn't. Dr. Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist who has studied the relationship between money and emotion for over 2 decades, describes this shift as moving from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, not as a motivational concept, but as a neurological reality. When your nervous system stops treating every dollar as a survival variable, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for long-term planning, delayed gratification, and rational decision-making, gets room to function. Your thinking literally improves. But you have to get there first. And that's the problem nobody talks about honestly. Getting to $10,000 from zero is not the same journey as getting to $100,000 from $10,000. The math might look proportional, the psychology isn't. Getting from zero to $10,000 means building a savings habit in a brain that is actively, biologically opposed to saving. It means overriding a system that has 2 million years of engineering behind it, with willpower alone, without the cognitive breathing room that buffer creates. This is why most financial advice fails people who need it most. Spend less than you earn. That's the advice. And it's technically correct, but it ignores the fact that when you're operating in scarcity, your brain is running on diminished capacity. Telling someone to simply make better decisions while their threat system is fully engaged is like telling someone to thread a needle during an earthquake. The instruction is accurate. The conditions make it nearly impossible. So what do you actually do? The first thing is to stop treating the first $10,000 as a financial goal. Treat it as a biological one. You are not saving money. You are rewiring a brain. That reframe matters because it shifts your measure of success. Every dollar you save isn't just a dollar. It's a small reduction in the noise your threat system generates. You are buying $1 at a time the neurological quiet your brain needs to think differently about money. The second thing is to make the decision once, not every day. Research by Dr. Roy Baumeister at Florida State University showed that willpower is a depletable resource, what he called ego depletion. Every time you actively decide not to spend, you draw down from a finite mental reserve. But if you automate the decision, a scheduled transfer on payday, before you ever see the money in your checking account, you make the decision 0 times. The brain never enters the conflict. The savings happen before temptation can form. The third thing is to find the smallest possible number that still moves the account. Not $500 a month. Whatever doesn't trigger your threat system. Maybe it's $25, maybe it's $50. The number doesn't matter as much as the continuity, because the goal in the early stages is not the dollar amount. The goal is the identity. Every month you save something, even something small, you become someone who saves. And identity is more durable than motivation. Motivation fades, identity compounds. This is what the wealthy understand about money that isn't taught in schools. The first $10,000 isn't a destination. It's proof. It's evidence, written in your account balance that you are someone your future self can build on. The number doesn't create safety. The habit does. And once the habit exists, once the buffer exists, everything changes. Not just the math, not just the stress level. The actual quality of the decisions you make changes. You start seeing opportunities you couldn't see before, not because they didn't exist, but because your brain was too occupied with survival to notice them. You start thinking 5 years out instead of 5 days out. You start making the long bets that short-term thinking always made impossible. There is a compound effect to wealth that everyone talks about. Interest earning interest, investments growing over time. But there is a cognitive compound effect that nobody talks about. Clarity earning clarity. Good decisions creating the conditions for better decisions. A nervous system that isn't in crisis generating the mental space to plan, to invest, to take calculated risks. That effect starts at $10,000. Not because the number is magic, but because it is the point where your ancient brain finally, for the first time, stops running the survival program at full capacity. Where it takes a breath, where it looks up from the immediate and sees the horizon. You started this with a number in your bank account that wouldn't move. Here is what's true. It wasn't moving because something was wrong with you. It wasn't moving because your brain was doing exactly what 2 million years of evolution designed it to do. Keep you alive, keep you present, keep you safe from a future it couldn't trust. The first $10,000 is hard because you're not fighting laziness. You're not fighting bad habits. You're fighting biology. And the moment you understand that, the moment you stop blaming yourself and start building systems instead, that is the moment the number starts to move. Not because the world changed, because you finally stopped checking your bank account and started building the brain that will fill it.